Wow! Oh, man, and being just posterized Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What is up, everybody? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. POB can be found on iTunes and Spotify. Smash that subscribe button, guys. If you're watching us here at the TPL YouTube channel, today we are grading the second round selection of the Philadelphia Flyers, Mr. Emil Andre. We're going to break down his play, discuss his strengths, his weaknesses, and my man Tyson is going to grade the selection. So let's talk about my co-host. He is Tyson Quibell on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter at Quibell Tyson. He's done detailed breakdowns of the NHL draft from top 100 prospect rankings, mock drafts, in-depth breakdowns of the first round pick. But you can find all those at thepaintedlines.com. What's up, Tyson?
Not much. Excited to talk about what I think is a steal here in the second round for the Flyers and our friend, Mr. Emil Andre.
Love it, love it, love it. So I think we all saw the Flyers taking a defenseman at some point, especially when you had a 33-year-old guy in Matt Niskanen decide to retire. Matt had 1 year left on his contract, and that's going to come off the books due to his early retirement. 33 points in 68 games during his only season with the Flyers last year. But first and foremost, I will always remember Matt Niskanen for his amazing help with Provorov's development and just watching Ivan Provorov develop, especially offensively last season. But let's talk about Emil Andre. The Flyers took this guy with the 54th overall selection. This kid seems to have some nice hockey IQ. He's a playmaker, which you saw with Tyler Forster, a sniper, a guy that can get the puck in the net. Tyson, talk to us a little bit about Emil Andre and who this guy is.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things that you read when you read some other scouting reports, and I've done a bunch of my own on this guy, is a couple of the ones that I read said, one weakness, he's 5'9". Now, I think it's a little bit of an overratedness on that part. I mean, I think there's other places for improvement in his game. That being said, he is an incredibly skilled, offensive-minded defenseman. Excellent skater, excellent offensive instincts. He moves up the puck up the ice quickly. He uses the edges of his skates extremely well, and he, in other words, he's just kind of this prototypical, quick puck moving, small but skilled defenseman. And so that's what the Flyers are getting with Mr. Andre here. And I'm a huge fan personally. I had him 26 on my board. I assumed he would be a mid-second rounder I think in my mock draft, I had him projected to go between 40 and 55. So it was right kind of in that middle section. And so I think the Flyers got some excellent value here for the second year in a row in the second round.
Quick thoughts. There's been some trade rumors about Ghost possibly being on the trade block. He's a defenseman. Does this draft pick have any influence on that at all?
I don't think so, just in the sense that while they may have some similarities in their games, it's going to be a while before we see Andre even make the jump to North America. Okay. So kind of in his developmental structure. So he, as a 17-year-old, did not play many games in Sweden's top league last year. That is one of the potential reasons why some of us see this high skill set with him, but he dropped to the second, is that there was two other Swedish defensemen, Helga Grans, one of my favorite names, the draft, and William Wallander, who both went earlier in the second, who spent more time in the Swedish Hockey League, the highest level in Sweden. And so for Andre, he only played 10 games last season at the top level, and he played in Sweden's junior league. And so because of that, he's likely to be, or is so far, full-time in the Swedish Hockey League this season. And the likelihood is that will continue. But again, I think it'll be 2 to 3 years before we see him make the jump to North America, let alone get in the NHL. And some of that's size related, and some of it is just strength related. I mean, he's a guy that the Flyers look at and say he just needs to, with age, mature physically, put on some more weight, put on some more muscle mass. If he does that, in particular, he'll be good to go.
All right, let's talk a little bit about strengths on Emil Andre, dude.
Yeah, I love his on-ice vision. So just his ability to make quick passes out of the zone. One of his comparables is Eric Branstrom. And Branstrom was a 14th overall pick of Vegas a few years ago, and now he's on Ottawa, and he played about half a season of Ottawa last year. They're very similar style. They're both under 6 feet, but very fast, very highly intelligent. One thing I like about Andre, too, is he actually isn't afraid to play a physical brand of hockey, even though he's little. So he has a pretty strong center of gravity. So you can see some clips of him on YouTube and stuff where he'll just demolish guys. So you kind of just like his overall feel, where you're just kind of like, he plays bigger than he is. He has this offensive skill set. He has this elite vision. A lot of more analytically minded analysts are high on him. So that's kind of the thought process here. So yeah, those are definitely his strengths. He definitely looks like he can quarterback the power play and kind of run a power play even through himself. So he has this very full toolkit, so to speak, that is going to go a long way.
5'9" guy, playing physical out there on the ice. This guy sounds like he's destined to be a Flyers favorite with the fans for sure. Let's go on to weaknesses. What are some areas that Emil Andre needs to improve on?
So one that gets talked about, obviously, is his size, but I don't necessarily count that as a weakness, because you can be small and figure out how to play. I mean, you can make up for size with intelligence. It's all about where you kind of come up on another player to lift his stick and take the puck. You don't have to be big for that. So I tend to not like to just go with size. He could get a little bit stronger. And the second thing is just if he can transition defensively to the NHL level. That's been, for example, with Gostisbehere, as we were just talking about, that's been some of his issue the last few years, is he hasn't improved in that area. So you'll watch him lose guys kind of on his blind side, and guys will burn past him, and it becomes more of a liability if he's not just playing in a top 4 offensive-minded role. And so some of the concern around Andre would be somewhat similar. Wouldn't say he's a defensive liability by any means, but he definitely needs to add some improvement in that area of his game. And I think that, again, with time, that'll happen. And with a lot of these players, again, we're talking a few years out at minimum before we see them put on NHL jerseys or even Lehigh Valley jerseys. So there's a lot of time here to work on that. The Flyers are banking on a strong developmental system. That is proving to be true. We saw that even this year with 1 year of Connor Bunnaman suddenly going from like a 20-something ranked prospect on my list to all of a sudden he's playing NHL games and not looking at a place, and may start the season on the Flyers next year in a full-time role. So their developmental system is a good job overall. Phil Myers, another example of that. So again, this will be one of those things where they'll get to have some time here for this player, and I think he will be a solid addition in 3 or 4 years to the Flyers blue line.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Let's wrap it up with the final grade. Tyson, how would you grade the Flyers' second-round selection?
I give it an A, just because we're getting a potential first-round talent in the second. And this is a deeper draft, like we've said. There's a few other teams that have done similar, but this was a slam dunk. I actually thought there was a few other names that I had in my mind when I saw the Flyers pick. I thought they were going to take Eamon Powell being one. Another defenseman. It was always a defenseman, but I was so happy when I saw this one. I was like, oh, nice. Like they're going to like this kid. They're going to like his upside in Philly, and he's a great addition to an ever-growing. I mean, this is an ever prospect tank. Like I'm just thinking through today, like where do these 2 new players fall? They're not going to fall at number 1 and 2 on their top prospect list, but it's going to bump other guys down that has nothing to do with those other guys. It's just being added to. It's just growing. So this is a great time to be a Flyers fan. Future is bright. 3 to 5 years from now, not even just today. 3 to 5 years in the future.
Amazing stuff. I couldn't agree. Like we just need to get some of that player development over to the Phillies, Sixers, and Eagles, because their player development is here, and Flyers are just here. It's just worlds different. It's just a different animal. It kind of sucks, but good for Flyers.
Yeah, it's been a while, so it's nice to see them be on the top here.
For sure, for sure. All right, that is my man Tyson. Follow him on Twitter at KoiBellTyson. Check out all of his content on the NHL draft over at thepaintedlines.com. For Tyson, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions. Sixers win it! Wow! Oh man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles? Let me get a hell yeah!